Welcome to CivilNet. Joining me today is Ida Tin, the co-founder and CEO at Clue. And she's also the woman who in 2016 coined the term FemTech. Ida is in Armenia for this year's Femino Conference, a platform for female innovation in Armenia and the region. So Ida, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I should quickly say that I'm the former CEO and chairwoman of Clue.
Former CEO.
Still co-founder, that never changes. But yeah.
Thank you. Well, first of all, could you give me your definition of FemTech and why FemTech?
Yes. The way I think about FemTech is that it's technology or services or products that serves women because of the unique biology that we have. So that can be anything from period tracking to fertility, but it can also be things like mental health, bone health, brain health. So it's a pretty broad category.
And could you, one of the topics that was basically the main theme of the Femino Conference this year was circling AI. And I know that one of the things that was mentioned often was gender bias in AI, because the data that it's really using is from, it's basically drawn from these gender biases, like they exist already in society. So what steps can be taken to really mitigate those biases?
Yeah, one of the key issues is that the training sets that we're using are really data on the world as we have been collecting it, which is on men. And to your question also about why FemTech, so there is a really big part of life that we have overlooked as a tech community for a long time, which is all the experiences that relate to being a woman and having female biology, because what it feels like to be a woman is kind of invisible in our culture. And because it's invisible in our culture, it has also not really been addressed in technology. And that's a big mistake for several reasons. One, because it hurts the well-being of women, but also because it actually is a huge economic both opportunity in terms of business opportunity, but it's also very expensive for economies and societies when women are not thriving. So it's good for women, it's good for economy, it's good for society, and I think it's good for the planet actually. So there are many reasons why investing and innovating in women's health is very meaningful and important. And one of the beautiful things that come out of this innovation is huge amount of data. So we are starting to collect data on the female body and the female experience. And when we have that, then our AI can start actually working for women as well. So it's a whole ecosystem that really has to develop this sort of gender awareness, so that when we build technology, we collect data, we analyze data, we build algorithm, we have this gender awareness that makes us pick up when something is, biased, which it will be automatically unless we do something. And that's of course a big problem, because then we're rebuilding the world again in a way that doesn't actually fit women.
Could you actually give us an example of what gender bias looks like in AI, for example, or even in society? But
I mean, there are known examples. So if you ask AI to draw you a picture of a doctor, it might come out as a man. Or if you think about how we have developed pretty much anything, like in architecture, where does the handle sit, how big are they, or tools, how big are the uniforms, how do they fit? Like it's all based on men's data. And so it doesn't actually fit. Things are too big, or they don't sit right, or they're not actually safe. There is a famous example around seat belts in cars, where they were tested on crash dummies that were sort of shrunk men to imitate women, but women's physiology is actually not small men. So women have a much higher risk of dying in a car accident because it actually doesn't fit her. So these kind of things are now slowly changing, but it's really because somebody started collecting the data and be like, hold on, So in AI, I think there are two levels. One is just the algorithm come out with a result that is actually helpful and useful and true. And the other question is, which problems are we trying to solve with AI? As long as our life experiences are in this sort of unconscious part of our culture, we simply won't address them. So a big example right now is conditions like endometriosis or PCOS that many, many women are suffering from, about 10%. So it's like a huge issue. It comes with tremendous suffering. And we still don't know much about these diseases. We're not good at diagnosing them. We're not good at treating them at all. And we're also not good at caring for people who have this life experience. So another example could be menopause, something that every single woman will go through. Eventually. You know, where it's like, why don't we have an algorithm that can predict when is that going to happen? Why don't I have the last 10 years of my hormonal data so that I can make a strong prediction for what's going to happen? And I think that's because nobody has looked at it. Nobody has cared. And so that's, you know, first has to be a human who's like, let's go build this algorithm. Let's get the really solid data set. And then we can do it.
And that actually kind of brings me to my next question. Women's health topics, including menstruation or reproductive health, often it's difficult to talk about. There's considered taboo subjects, especially in places like maybe Armenia. What role does FemTech take play in breaking down these barriers and really act as a tool to initiate more open discussions?
Yeah, no, this is very important. That is exactly right, that if we don't look at it, like if it's not part of our culture, if we can't see it, if it's invisible, it's much harder for people to go like, oh, I should build a company in this space, or I should build an algorithm. But I think technology is very powerful because one, it can educate people, right? It's an incredible tool to actually bring, in our case, scientific, valid information about your body. But I think we're also getting trained to the sense of like, oh, technology is solving problems in my life. You know, it recommends me my next movie, or I can buy something online, or I can find a train ticket. And I have this thing about my body, like, why doesn't my phone enable me to like take care of that part? And I think slowly people are learning that, oh, actually there is probably an app for managing endometriosis, or knowing when my next period is coming, or taking care of my pregnancy journey, whatever it is. But I think women have to be very brave, and they have to talk about their experiences, and they have to bring the men in as well. Because I think many men, they do actually want to know what's going on with their wife, or their girlfriend, or their sister, or their mother, or they saw somebody go through a pregnancy that was difficult, or they didn't get pregnant with their partner. Like, so men, they,
it's in their interest too.
It's in their interest, and how would they know? They only know if a woman be like, actually, this is how I'm feeling today. So I think we have to be very brave, and the people investing into companies have to be very brave.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it starts with women, and technology can definitely help.
And so what are some of the more significant challenges that you've faced when developing or promoting FemTech products and services?
I mean, raising money is the one that's always traditionally hard. It's hard for everybody, but we know the data shows that women raise less capital at lower valuations, even though they are more cash efficient and they produce better financial results. So it makes no sense. And women building technology for women is kind of double hit. Having said that, there are more and more funds who focus specifically on FemTech and or female entrepreneurs. But I think fundamentally, as an entrepreneur, you will keep meeting something that's like, oh, a new challenge to overcome, and something that didn't go well, and you're like, what am I going to do? It's this constant problem solving. And that's fine, as long as you deep in your heart believe that what you're building is meaningful, important, that the opportunity we've seen in the market is real. And women have to trust that they have a set of life experiences that actually enable them to know something about a need in the market that the person across the table giving you money or not giving you money is potentially not seeing. So they may be like, why is this important? Right. People would say in the beginning that this was a niche market. Like, how can periods be niche? That's like crazy, without periods there would be no humans on the planet. It's like as far from niche as it can get. Right. So I think for women, keep trusting that what they know is true.
And valuable.
Yeah. Even when they're met with like, what is this? It's like if there's any kind of putting it down as like a women's something that's not important. Like, no, it is crucially important, right? Even for the well-being of the planet, like it really is important.
And I think that one thing that often it comes down to numbers. It's a numbers game when it comes to the tech industry. At the end of the day, are there economic benefits in creating products and services that are geared towards women's health?
Absolutely, 100%. And there's lots of data showing that. Actually, somebody did a study recently where they were like, I forget the exact numbers, but it was like, you cannot think of any other industry where you can put in an investment as a society and get as much back. Because women's health is very expensive. It's very expensive to go to hospital and have babies. Our system comes with a lot of maintenance. So actually, the public health spending on female health is huge. And the lost work days because people don't feel well through menopause or pregnancy, whatever, endometriosis period, like all of it, we have so much going on. Helping women do better absolutely is a huge financial opportunity.
Both in making money and also saving.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Both ends of the spectrum. One more question. So your experience at Femino and being able to interact with some of the female entrepreneurs in Armenia, what have been maybe some examples that really stuck out to you, particularly maybe FemTech related or?
I think the first thing that really struck me is how many women were in the audience or participating and talking, and this sense of like an immense strength, really like an immense strength and smarts. I couldn't help think like, all these, there was this great group of young women who had done the science projects, so people in STEM, and I was thinking, they're working so hard, they're so smart, they're working in an environment where they have to like really want it. I'm like, they're the ones who are gonna build the algorithm in Silicon Valley in 10 years. And I was like, in Denmark, I think we have to shape up a little bit. Like we're a little, people, there is something that comes when you have to fight for something which is a lot of like determination and I think you need that as an entrepreneur. And if you're a little bit too comfortable and life is like, very easy, even though we have other things that are challenging in Denmark, it's not like people have perfect lives, far from it. But this sort of determination, I think, really struck me. And also like a sense of like sisterhood, that was very beautiful. I really admire Sida, the organizer. I forget her last name. Maybe you can say it.
Puyan, yes.
Thank you. And the sort of the community that she has helped enable, and it's really beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today and for having this conversation with us. And thank you for watching CivilNet.